guys, welcome to Soul Talk with Leo and Norma. I'm Leo.
And I'm Norma.
Let's talk about it. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Soul Talk. I'm Leo.
And I'm Norma. Let's talk about it.
Hey, guys, we have an amazing show for you this evening. I told you didn't want to miss this week. We have the one and only Sheriff Dr. President Nat Glover with us this evening.
Yes.
Take time, share, let somebody know that Soul Talk is on. And we have Jacksonville's first African-American Black sheriff on with us this evening. It's going to be an amazing show. Let somebody know that Soul Talk is on.
Hey, while you guys are letting people know, make sure you share, you like this video. You also get your questions ready. The sheriff is going to be answering questions, so you don't want to leave here. If you've got some questions that's just burning, you want to know some information. Obviously, we're talking tonight about Black history, as we've been talking about for this month. So we want to make sure that you have any questions concerning that, concerning education. I mean, we're talking to the first Black sheriff of Jacksonville, Florida. We're talking to a president of an HBCU, whoop, whoop. So you want to have your questions ready, be ready to ask them and get some comments going. Make sure you let everybody know that you're on with Soul Talk with Leo and Norma. I want to just share really quickly his bio, just so we can go ahead and get into this great interview and time. I hope you guys are ready, because we are super ridiculously ready and excited. So we got him on the hot seat real quick while we read over his bio. So you guys get ready. All righty. So on April 11, 1995, Dr. Nathaniel Glover made history by being elected as the first African-American sheriff in Florida in more than 100 years, and the first African-American sheriff in the history of Jacksonville. He served for 2 terms and retired from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office on June 30th, 2003. During his first term as sheriff, he donated $240,000 of his pension benefits to a college scholarship fund for deserving low-income children in the Jacksonville community. Remember that fact. We'll talk about that a little bit later. On August 15, 2018, Dr. Glover retired as the 29th president of Edward Waters College, Florida's oldest private institution of higher learning located in Jacksonville, Florida, after serving 8 years. Dr. Glover was born and raised in Jacksonville and is a product of the Duval County Public School System. He is also a product of Edward Waters College, where he earned the Bachelor of Science degree in social science. He later earned the master's degree in education from the University of North Florida. In addition, Dr. Glover is a graduate of the 130th session of the FBI National Academy and a graduate of the 1989 class of leadership, Jacksonville, and the 2016 Florida Leadership Class 9. He has received outstanding alumnus awards from Edward Waters College, the University of North Florida, and Leadership Jacksonville, in addition to being awarded the honorary doctorate of laws degree from Edward Waters College and the University of North Florida. Dr. Glover is the recipient of numerous awards for his achievements, community service, and leadership. Most recently, he was recognized by the City Council of Jacksonville for his distinguished career in public service on November 9, 2016, and he received the Great Floridian Award from Governor Rick Scott on May 10, 2016. On March 8, 2016, he received the Junior Achievement Thompson S. Baker Solid as a Rock Award in recognition of his dedication to bettering our community through leadership, hands-on involvement, and philanthropic deeds. He also serves on several local boards, including the Jacksonville Civic Council, the Chamber Board of Directors, Newtown Success Zone, UF Health Jacksonville, and the One Jacks Advisory Council. Dr. Glover is a Rotarian Paul Harris Fellow and serves on the Judicial Nominating Commission of the Middle District Conference for the 114th congressional term and was the 2016-2017 president of the Florida Association of Colleges and Universities. Soul Talk, how about you give a big round of applause in the virtual space for Dr. Nathaniel Nat Glover.
Yes, yes. Woo. Thank you again, Dr. Glover, for agreeing to hang out with us this evening. Once again, it just means the world to us, and we're so excited about all that you will be able to share on this evening. This month, we're dealing with Black history, so we're going to talk about lessons from the past, a look at the present, and a plan for the future, based on some of the questions that we're asking. We have to just share your heart, and we're going to be sitting, anticipating, listening, enjoying everything that you have to say. So I would like to kick it off this evening with one of the questions. One of the things that happened early on in your life, you was contemplating dropping out of high school, and your mom kind of motivated you, encouraged you to that wasn't a good decision that you was about to make. Now, would you consider that as being a defining moment in your life?
Oh, without a doubt. Of course, I was living in an environment where a number of things going on, young people getting involved in a number of things, and I was hanging out with them. And to be honest with you, sometimes your peer group has really it kind of make you want to be a distinguished person in that group. In the group that I was hanging out with, it was three other guys, and one of them had a car. They were not going to school, incidentally, and the other always had a pocket full of money, seemingly, and the other had a girlfriend, and I didn't have none of that. And I was going to school. I was going to school every day, so I went to my mother, and I was going to try to cut a deal with her. And I went to her, and I said, "Mom," and I told her about the other guys, and they would seem to be doing pretty well. And what I thought I'll ask you, and before I can get the question out, she said, let me help you with that. If you're going to stay in this house, you're going to school. And see, my mother was not one of those who, when she said something, there wasn't no vote, and the majority wins and that kind of thing. She was a total dictator. And so that gave me the message that I had to go to school. And I believe to this day, it saved my life. I am convinced that if I had not, adhered to her, I'm going to say threat, that I probably would have ended up in jail, worse than that, the cemetery. Oh, and by the way, those three guys that I hung out with, they did get arrested for burglary.
Wow.
And they did go before the judge, and I can remember specifically how much time they got, because the judge said he was going to give them 39 months divided up between the three of them, and that would determine how much time each had to serve. So each went to jail for a year and a month. And you know where I was? I was in school. So,
wow.
No question about it, I would have been with them on that day had I not been in school.
Wow.
So sometimes from listening to you, Dr. Glover, sometimes it's good we don't get what we think we want.
No, but Reverend Leo and Reverend Norma, I can tell you this. My whole life, there have been situations where the Lord has dropped somebody in my life to steer me in the right direction at critical junctions in my life. And in this instance, it was my mother. And if my mother had been maybe not as strong as she was, or not as emphatic as she was, no telling if I would have gone to school. I mean, I could have acted like I was going to school and not gone. Just played hooky, what we used to call it. But it was the fact that I didn't want to get on the wrong side of my mother was the reason I was in school almost every day, unless I was sick.
Wow. Yeah. You know what's interesting about that? I was kind of thinking about, excuse me, as you were mentioning about those young men and the things that they had and what it appeared that they had, and that you were saying I didn't have any of that. That you didn't have a car, you didn't have the girlfriend, you didn't have those kinds of things, and maybe some other stuff. And I was thinking about kind of a correlation many times between what we see as poverty, and that correlation between poverty and education, and then a lack of education and crime. And so we see those kind of, that succession kind of happened in that setting of what you just described. Would you agree that that's kind of something that we see, along the way in our communities?
Yeah. Let me say, when you look at the criminal justice system. Now, criminal justice system, I know we hear that term, and when we hear that term, we immediately default to the police. And yeah, the police is a part of the criminal justice system, but the criminal justice system is made up of the police, the prosecutor's office, state attorney, the judges, and the corrections part of it. So it's all four of those, and they are supposed to work together as kind of a check and balance process. I mean, the design of it is perfect. But when you look at to your point, Dr. Norma, when you look at the criminal justice system, I can tell you, when you look at the incarcerated population in this country, the first thing you know is that African Americans make up a disproportionate amount of the individuals who are locked up. No question about it. When you look at the fact that in the state of Florida, African Americans represent less than 20% of the total population, right. But when you look at the population of the prison system, they make up about 40 to 45% of the prison population.
Wow.
Now you look at those numbers, that's telling. And I'm going to also say, to some degree, those numbers are prompted by some situations where they are prosecuted a little bit more than whites, and they are sentenced to longer terms than whites, even in situations where it might be the same crime. So that's a whole nother problem that we need to look at and talk about. But the point is, if you do not get an education, if you end up being a dropout in high school, it's almost an express line to the criminal justice system. Wow. And so And when you get that diploma, and God knows if you go on to college, you make up a big part of that success piece on that other side. So that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Wow. So, and listening to you, Dr. Glover. So, how can we correct what's wrong with the system when you talk about African Americans being incarcerated at a higher rate than everybody else, in many cases for the same crimes that are being committed? How do we combat that?
Well, I think a community involvement. One of the things that happen is that we don't get involved until there's a crisis, and then we react to the crisis. And I'm one of those individuals that will say, during a crisis, it's almost too late. It's better than not getting involved at all, but it's sometimes too late. Mm-hmm. If you remember, when I was sheriff, I used to walk through the community. That's right. and my entire term as sheriff, I was sheriff for 8 years. Okay. And at the time I walked 408 beats, actually there are subsectors here in Jacksonville, but I walked 408. Okay. That's actually 51 a year. Okay. So if I'm walking 51 a year, and there are only 52 weeks in a year, so I'm pretty much walking a beat every week.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So what am I doing? I am actually going out, talking to the people. I'm talking face to face, knocking on their door, asking them, how are we doing? How can we be better? And talking to them in a lot of instances, how can you help me be better? Right. There's a couple of things happening there. I am going out and the people are getting the impression that he really cares.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And you have to do that now. They're not going to give you that free. You have to earn that.
Right. Yes.
So with the commitment and the persistence in which I did it, they got the clear message that I really meant it. And not only that, if the police officers know that you are going out and ask the people how we are doing as a department, then that could model their behavior. That's right. I'm gonna tell you right now, I was a good boy in my neighborhood when I didn't want to be a good boy, because my neighbors, all of them, were telltale. They would tell. They would tell if they saw you doing something, they would tell your parents. So I took that philosophy to mean that with going out, making certain that I get ahead of the problem. So when I go back to them when something happened, then they are used to seeing me. They know that I really care. And for the most part, they will say things like, well, I know this is a troubling situation, but Sheriff Glover will handle it. And that's because I have earned their confidence and respect. Right.
Yes.
And we remember those days. We remember watching you walk the streets, and we remember the substations that you put in place and the various things that were just kind of some we would think kind of things that would kind of cause people to look and say, somebody's there, somebody's watching. So you can't just commit crimes and no one knows about it because the sheriff's walking the street, so he may be there. Those police officers are in those substations, they may see you. So, those kinds of things were great deterrents.
And I think lighthearted, but this is a true story. I used to, I grew up in kind of the ghettos anyway, so I was comfortable out in the worst parts of the city, and I would talk to some of the residents in an area, and I would ask them, where are the trouble spots? And they were afraid to tell me it's John or Willie down the road, but they would kind of shake their head in that direction and say, and so I wouldn't go straight to Willie after I talked to them, but I'll move around a little bit, and then I end up over at Willie's house, and I would say to Willie, how you doing? And he would try to be nice. Oh yeah, Chef, I'm so glad you're in the neighborhood, and acting like he's a concerned citizen. So when he finished talking, I would tell him this. Now, Willie, we know who's doing the break-ins in this area, and it's you. Now, I don't have enough to put you in jail now, but I'm telling you right now, if I have one more break-in in this area, I am going to make your life miserable. And I said, you see those officers I got with me out there? Yes, sir. I said, okay, they're going to make your life miserable too. And if they don't make your life miserable, I'm going to make their life miserable. Okay. And believe me, that kind of confrontation and threat, it worked 95% of the time.
Wow.
But you know what, Sheriff? While you're talking, I'm seeing the connection between how we were raised in the neighborhoods and how you govern, because the same thing that you were doing to them was the same thing you said about how you didn't act up because you knew your neighbors was going to tattle on you. And in some cases, not only would they tattle on you, but mom and dad had given them permission to lay hands on you. That's right. So you, just because you weren't in their presence, did not give you the freedom to do what you wanted to do. And in the community, when you were sheriff, you were using the same concept, saying, okay, now we know what's happening around here, and I'm gonna give you a chance to make it right, sounding like a parent. And if you don't get it right, it's one of the things like daddy gonna get you when you come home, mess up one more time.
Well, Leo, you sound like you came from the same background there, because that was exactly the way it was.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Glover, in 1960, you were 17 years old, and there was a defining moment that kind of caused you to make some major decisions, and where you sit today is a result of some of the things that you learned on that day. Can you kind of share those? And again, because we're talking about Black history, so those of you who are in the audience, if there's anything that any questions or anything, go ahead and ask your questions, put them in the comments. And if you will, if you're just joining us, please like and share this show, and we're going to continue on with Dr. Glover.
Well, I think my mother telling me that if I was going to stay in that house, I was going to school. Huge turning point in my life. I'll have to say the incident that you're talking about was another, and that was Axe Handle Saturday, which a number of people know about. Not enough of our young people know about it or see the significance in it. But I just happen to have been one of those fortunate youth who had a job, and I was working at Morrison Cafeteria. Now, a lot of these young people don't know about Morrison Cafeteria, but it was a cafeteria that pretty much like Piccadilly's, and it was in the downtown area, and I worked on the weekends because I was in school, and on that Axe Handle Saturday, I was working, and there were some demonstrators that had come in the downtown area and did what we call a sit-in, and some may not know what what a sit-in demonstration was. But at that time, African Americans were prohibited from sitting at lunch counters at certain places. And there was I think a Woolworth right across the street from where I worked. And so those African Americans went in and sat down and ordered food like they were allowed to sit in. Well, what that did, that shut the counter down because white people would get up and leave. And that was the intent of the sit-in. They were trying to integrate. Mm-hmm. But this time, it didn't work like that. This time, a number of white men with brand new accents invaded the environment where they were sitting in and chased the demonstrators out of town. And I mean, it was, I understand, quite a sight to see because they were violent. Now, I didn't know all of this was going on because I'm working inside of Morrison Cafeteria. Well, after all of that happened, the boss came and told all of the employees at Morrison to go home, particularly African American, get out of town because the axe handle wielding white persons had shut down all of downtown. Wow. And it was totally vacated. Now, everybody at Morrison Cafeteria, particularly people of color, cleared out. I mean, they were gone in about 15 minutes. Well, I had one of my jobs was before I left, I had to mop the floor. And I stayed long after they were gone because I was just not going to leave before I mopped the floor. But they told us to get out of there right then. But just my commitment to the job wouldn't allow me until I finished my job. Mm-hmm. Well, when I left, let's just say an hour later, and I walked out of Morrison Cafeteria, the back door where the help came in, I walked out and I was the only Black person in the downtown area. Wow. And not only that, I was quickly surrounded by axe handle wielding white men. They totally surrounded me. And not only that, they were taunting me with the axe handles, kind of hitting me with them, but not any disabling blows, like hit me side of the head and knock me out, or any kind of blows that would really exact pain. But they had me surrounded and they were calling me names and they were hitting me with the axe handles. Now, I can tell you, Dr. Norma, Dr. Leo, I have never been as frightened as I was that day. I was totally scared. I'd never been that scared before. And I saw a police officer who actually was standing outside of the circle, just watching. And he wasn't stopping it or doing anything. So I broke and ran to the police officer. And I can remember his words. They rattle in my head exactly the way he said them today. He told me, "You better get out of here before they kill you."
Wow.
And I ran. And I ran and I ran. And the whole time I was running home, I was thinking, I hope they don't run behind me. I was just afraid all the way home. Wow. And I remember getting home and I was laying across my bed, which me and my brother slept in, and I was crying. And I cried not because I was hurt, not because I was injured. I cried because I had run away from a fight. And the neighborhood that I grew up in, you took a beating before you run away from a fight. You do not run away. Only cowards run away. And I didn't want to see myself as a coward. And that was the reason I cried. Wow. Now the lesson that came out of that incident, it was quite a moment in my life, just the facts as you heard them. But one of the things I made up, one of the thoughts I entertained, and I made up my mind then that I never want to be that afraid again. And oh, by the way, I will never let fear be a deciding factor in any of my endeavors. In other words, I don't want to not do something that I feel like I should do because of fear.
Yeah.
And that has helped me take some risk that have pretty much shaped my life. And the reason I would take those risks was because I did not want to be able to have to deal with the fact I didn't take the risk and probably could have accomplished something. And that's what happened when people asked me about running for sheriff. And at that time, we didn't think the state of Florida had ever had a black sheriff. But I agreed to do it because I know if I hadn't agreed to run, even though people were saying that white people were not going to vote for me, and a whole lot of black folk were not going to vote for me because they didn't believe that an African American can be elected sheriff. But I had to try it because I could not let fear be the deciding factor. And you know what? I won in the first primary with 55% of the vote.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the people that was trying to discourage me were people who cared about me. They weren't trying to discourage me for any other reason than they thought that I was going to be embarrassed. So I go back to that Axe Handle Saturday, and being afraid is what has shaped my life as a kind of a risk taker.
Wow.
So,
and Dr. Glover, a question for that. There was something that I read was saying that during the time that you were running for sheriff, there was one of the guys that was a part of that Sunday, the Axe Handle Sunday, that came up to you, and I believe he apologized to you based on what I read. Can you speak on that?
Well, I wasn't running then. I was already sheriff, and I was speaking at a school at a community meeting, and after I finished my speech, this guy came up to me, and as a whole lot of people do after a speech, they want to come up and take pictures, and they want me to sign autographs and that kind of thing. And this guy came up and he said, "Can I talk to you a minute?" And I said, "Yeah, but I really don't have time now," because people were just everywhere and they would all wanted a moment and that kind of thing. So I said, "Okay, if you would wait, I certainly will talk to you." Didn't know who he was. And he waited over to the side, and it must have took me 30 to 40 minutes to finish shaking everybody's hand and that kind of thing, because after I was elected, it was like this, it was just like an icon. I mean, everybody wanted a picture, autograph, and that kind of thing. So after everybody else had pretty much cleared out and just my people there and my media persons standing there, I walked over to him and I said, sir, I'm glad you waited. I didn't think you were going to wait this long, but how can I help you? He said, sir, I just want to apologize.
Wow.
And I said, for what? He said, I was there on Axe Handle Saturday.
Wow.
And he said, I was part of that group. And I just wanted to take time to say to you, I apologize. I'm saddened by the fact that I was there. And I said to him, I said, well, if all you need some peace from that for me to accept your apology, I do. And you don't ever have to worry about me holding that against you.
Wow.
And his eyes, that man's eyes were full of water.
Wow.
So that was not a put on, believe me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that was a moment that I remember. And I often say, if I knew it was going to be that big a moment, I probably would have got to him a little earlier. So I would have kept him up, but he stayed there until he got that done. And I again, that was because sound like a man that if I had gotten his name and had stayed in contact with him, he probably could have been a living testimony. But I just missed that opportunity. And I had my media guy there with me at the time. He heard everything.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yes.
So let's kind of like take a little, like a little journey almost. And so you were 8 years with the sheriffs, and then, you did some other things in between before you got to be the president of your alma mater of Edward Waters College. But there was something that you did during, and I talked about it I read it through your bio, excuse me, where while you were sheriff, I think it was, that you actually gave your pension away a number of years, and it was $240,000. I remember that specifically, and that you gave this money away to kids that go to college. But or you gave this money away for scholarships, but there was a reason behind it, which was a greater reason than just I want to do a nice thing. So can you kind of talk through that?
Well, let me just say, sure, I can talk through that. When my mother told me if I was going to stay in that house, I had to go to school. I'm going to tell you right now, I was not that committed to the whole notion of getting an education. I was going to school to put the time in so I didn't have to be on the wrong side of my mother. But the story goes like, my brother, who had preceded me by 4 years at Stanton, had been a stellar athlete. And I mean, I'm talking top of the line athlete. They said he was one of the best athletes of his time. And so as a result of that, and they used to call him Big Wop, because he used to hit people so hard and that kind of thing. And while I was in school, I was actually living off a little bit of his glory, because people would say, well, that's Nathaniel Glover there. That's Big Wop's brother. I stick my chest out and take credit for my brother's prowess in athletic. And I did that, which, your peer group thinking you are something outstanding because you come from, your brother did all of these things, was a good thing. But when I got in the 11th grade, Reverend, the tone of those introductions changed. They say, yeah, that's Glover brother over there. That's Eugene Glover brother, Big Wop. But that's his brother, Nathaniel, over there. but he's sorry. and so it was all right when one guy called me that, but then that kind of caught on that I was Nathaniel Glover, Big Wop, Eugene Glover brother, but I'm sorry. So I went to the coach and I begged the coach to let me play football. And I begged him, and he said, look, next year you'll be a senior. You won't play varsity football but 1 year. These kids been out here for 3 years. I can't just let you walk on. And I told him, Coach Small, I said, Coach Small, please let me play. I don't know. I was at the point of tears. I didn't want him to call me sorry anymore. And so he finally relented. He allowed me to come in the last part of my 11th grade year and come to spring training for the next year. And I did. I can tell you right now, all the other kids had gotten their uniforms and everything. He told me to go in and tell the guy that I was starting on the team and to give me a uniform. I had all old equipment. I had a pair of shoes that looked like clown shoes. They were 2 or 3 sizes too big. But I went out and I played in spring training, came back and was a starting player in my senior year.
Wow. Yes. Wow.
And not only that, I won Offensive Lineman Player of the Year.
Wow.
And Edward Waters College came calling and gave me a scholarship to go to college for free.
They couldn't call you sorry no more.
No, I vindicated myself from being sorry. I could always play sports, but I didn't have to. And really the reason I was going to school, I would get to school 5 minutes before the bell rang, and I was leaving 5 minutes after the bell rang. And I wasn't about to play no football because you had to stay after school. So the fact that they called me sorry forced me into football, and it got me a free education. And so I was able to go play football, and the rest is history. So when I became sheriff, I was retired. I had a pretty nice pension coming from my career as a law enforcement officer, and I was going to be getting a sheriff's salary. So for 4 years, I took all of that pension I was getting and I put it in a scholarship fund called Take Stock in Children. And of course, I provided scholarships for, I think they told me about 30 something kids paid their way to college. And incidentally, I had about 6 or 7 of them come up and greet me on the street and tell me that I paid for their college education.
That's awesome.
And each time that happened, I almost got goosebumps and that kind of thing. And one of the things I couldn't determine who got the money. I was determined I gave the money, and they made a decision on who got the money. So it wasn't like I was giving it to people that I knew.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That is good, because, just imagine what may have happened to those children if you had not been so generous.
Well, you're right, Leo. That is what is happening to us. One of the most consistent questions I get from people as a former sheriff is, why do you have so much black on black crime? Why do you have black men shooting each other. And when you put what we've talked about in the education system in context, it's not that difficult to figure out. We do have a lot of our young people, if they were able to get some education, then they wouldn't be living in those toxic situations.
That's right.
That create an environment where there could be shootings and robbing and killing and all of that. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to try to impact that. See, we have a number of young people, too many, to be honest with you, who could go to college and would go to college, but they can't go because they can't pay for it. And the cost of college. And to be honest with you, if we can create an environment where they can go to college, and there shouldn't be, in this country, we are the richest country on the planet Earth. It shouldn't be no kid in this country who have the ability to go to college that can't go to college because of money. We can educate them. And if we educate them, think about it, Reverend, think about it. If we educate them, then we can cut down on the population of the criminal justice system.
My goodness. My goodness.
It costs almost $70 a day to house one prisoner in jail. Now think about this. If you educated that prisoner and they came out, got a job, guess what? They will be paying taxes, they will be creating revenue, and they will be serving the community. So that small college investment can return thousands of dollars in community service to our society. So when you talk about ROI, that's return on investment, that means that we can make a small investment by educating this person and the great return that we can get from that. So in the long run, we will make money off of that investment. So that's what I want to see, and that's what motivated me to do that. Because how do I go out begging people for young people and help me get young people in college, and they say to me, "Well, what have you done?" Well, I'm glad you asked, and then I can tell them that I have made that investment.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
And while I'm listening to you, one of the things I'm sitting here thinking about, I think a lot of people, Dr. Glover, don't understand that really the thing standing between them and their destiny, who they were created to be, is information. The more information you get, the better your chances are for you to do something great with your life. And it's kind of our job to kind of do what you did. And that is find a way to get, especially the children that want to advance. Money should never be a reason for you not to be given an opportunity to better yourself when we live in the wealthiest country in the world. But we have to be resourceful and find out, how do we go about making sure that every child, even the child who is not a scholar, the child who might not make all A's and B's, but have a strong desire to go to college, how do we get those young people in school so that they can further their education and potentially live their dreams?
Well, let me just say this. One of the things that happened to me is that people always thought that I was smart, but my grades were always hovering around C or B. and because my mother, God bless her soul, never said to me, "Don't you bring another C in this house," because if she had said that to me, believe me, it would have been very easy for me to make nothing but A's and B's. But she never said that. What she did say was, "Don't fail," and she didn't have to tell me that because I've been the sheriff and I've been a college president, but I did fail the first grade when I was a first grade student. Now, not many people know that, but I remember my first grade teacher name because I was with her 2 years. But let me just say this. But that was another thing in my life. I never wanted to be looked at, and that was the reason I couldn't handle the notion of being called sorry, because I can remember when I failed the first grade, and I still don't know why I got held back, but they used to call it put back then. I do remember when people used to come to our house, my mother used to introduce all of us, and that's Nathaniel, and that's Eugene, that's Bessie, and that's Virginia. And then when she get finished introducing everybody, they'll look over there at me and say, "Is that the one that got put back?" And so that made me feel that made me feel awful, and so I never wanted to be seen as inadequate. Kind of like the same thing that happened to me. Never wanted to be afraid again. And so I could have done better in school, but I did it until I got to college, and then I was able to do better because I was better than a C student. But my point is, you got young men that's walking around with their pants down, and we look at them and we get frustrated and that kind of thing. Some of those kids are, without a doubt, a gift from God.
Yeah.
Right.
And could end up being governor, another mayor, or sheriff, or senator, if given an equal opportunity. But they come up in an environment where they may not be getting that kind of encouragement at home. And so that was the reason I did that. I wanted to make a way for some of those young people. And in other words, give them a break like I got a break. And it was nothing but a break. And so I appreciate that.
And one of the things I'm thinking about while you're talking is, see, sometimes we try to come to the conclusion of the book, the book meaning someone's life, before we give them a chance to go through the whole process of having a complete book. I want to define your end right there in the middle, just because I see you walking around maybe with your pants hanging down, or you might not be acting the way that I feel you should act, and I overlook the potential that's in front of me. And also forgetting that there was a time, Dr. Glover, when I know that when I walked out the house, when I had my stacks on and I had my afro and I had these big old elephant leg pants and this big old shirt on, somebody may have looked at me and said, "Man, that boy, he's not going to be anything. Look at him, looking like a clown." But it's dangerous when you look at a person and you don't see what God created them to be. See, there's a hidden jewel on the inside of everybody. So it's our job to look past where you are right now and know that you're only passing through. And it's my job to help you to identify who you are and to help you to be launched into the next phase of your life. But oftentimes we don't do that. I think
we have a question for you, Dr. Glover.
All right. That was a good testimony, Leo. I like that.
Yeah. So this question says, how do you motivate a young person who thinks becoming a doctor or lawyer or nurse takes too long when you see they have the potential to do it, and this person says, I've gotten that excuse from a lot of young people. All I can say is time is going to pass, whether they are doing something or not. So why not invest the time in your future? So the question again is, how do you motivate a young person who thinks becoming a doctor or lawyer or nurse takes too long when you see that they have the potential to do it?
Well, it depends on the individual. First thing, there are people in our lives that could make an impression on us. I would try to identify that person. If I had a young person that I knew had the ability to do one of those things that you talked about, the next time I went to the doctor, I would ask the doctor if they can cut 5 minutes off of my time and just talk to my little nephew, of mine, that young man. And I would just make certain that somebody that person can look up to, talk to them, and might make that the necessary impression for them to do it. Because I can tell you, you do have, again, I reiterate, you do have a lot of people walking around with the potential, and they don't get there because they are not motivated or encouraged to do so.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I want to kind of take this little bit of a side journey, but still stay on the topic of what we're talking about. I had pulled a list of things that you specifically done while you were sheriff, and then I want to lead kind of into the situation that we had in Minnesota last year. Minnesota, Minneapolis, George Floyd. Okay, so I have here this list. You initiated a community policing concept. You put officer names on their police cars. You placed the substations, which we've talked about, around the city, mostly in shopping centers. You established citizen advisory councils in every city sector. You raised educational requirement for police recruits from high school diploma to college degrees. Then this last one, you discontinued the use of chokeholds. And I wanted to kind of bring that out because you sent an editorial to the Florida Times Union, I think it was, about that Minneapolis police officer with the death of George Floyd. So I'd love for you to just kind of talk through some of that as we've been talking a lot about where we have crime in our communities and where we have education, and just kind of want to talk a little bit about the situation that we find ourselves with as African Americans being abused or hurt by people that don't look like us.
Yeah, there are a number of facets that I can talk about there, but I'm going to just select the subject of making certain that we connect with our police department and make certain that we have a say in how police officers should interact with our communities. The incident, George Floyd, is the incident that became so famous because it hit social media and it was so dramatic. So many people saw it. And as a result, when you saw all of the demonstrations that you saw, the biggest display of Black Lives Matter, it was prompted by that. And incidentally, the diversity in those demonstrators were something that had never been seen before. And,
wow.
I can tell you that African Americans for years have been talking about certain things and certain actions of police officers for years. And there were some cynical people who thought that they were just being difficult, and the things that they say were happening wasn't really happening. But when they saw it on the George Floyd incident on social media, that's when they started to get involved. And that's where we are now. I can tell you this, and there are a number of people out there that's too young to remember this, but we had a similar incident. It was Rodney King. And if you saw the videos that were captured across the country with police officers beating on Rodney King, a number of them with their nightsticks and batons and that kind of thing. And if you remember, when those police officers were charged and they went to court, they were all released and found not guilty. So we just can't send that kind of message to our citizens that we as police officers can conduct ourselves in that way, and there is no accountability. There is accountability. And to be honest with you, what we have in law enforcement, particularly when it comes to police officers, we have a few bad police officers who are actually causing a problem for the image of the whole profession. And what I think we need to do is to make certain that we get rid of those individuals that we know are having problems like prejudice and being abusive and that's unfit to wear that badge. And what I am saying is the police officers on the street got to help their superiors with that and step forward. They do not want to do that because they don't want to be seen as snitches. But the command staff got to exercise a little more courage in stepping up and making certain that they ferret those people out, either through reassignment, either through firing, either through some kind of intervention. But we got to take them off the street because police officers are allowed to use deadly force. And I'm talking making a decision in a split second that determine if they should take a life or not. So that's a big deal. So you do not want a police officer out there that you know is bad and you putting them out on the street because you don't want to deal with the union if you're firing. I'm going to say fire him and take the hit on whatever the union will come up with. In other words, I think the union should be getting on board too, because this toxic environment these few police officers are creating is undermining the whole profession. And just let me tell you this, I'm going to end with this. Most police officers will risk their lives in a moment to save yours.
Right.
And we can't put them all in one basket and talking about defunding and all of that. Right. What we do need to do, we need to address those and look at ways we can get rid of some of those bad and hold accountable when they do something that's not right.
Wow.
This has been absolutely amazing. I feel like Dr. Glover, somebody stole some of our time. There's no way the clock went by this fast on us. Thank you so much. We are at a little past 8, and we want to respect your time. Thank you so much, sir, for hanging out with us, dropping, I'm talking about wisdom on us, educating us about things that happened back in the past and bringing us all the way into today's world. Thank you so much. Do you have any last words that you would like to share with our audience before we go off the air this evening?
Yeah, one of the things I would like to say, I did talk about times coming up in a different environment and coming up in an environment where people were really trying to stop my progress and stop my ascension in all of that, and it all had to do with race. But I had to overcome all of that, so I will be sitting here talking to you all through a process of overcoming that. So here's what I would say. Maintain who you are. Don't let people get you off course. I know sometimes you get angry and you want to react. Think about it, because I can tell you right now, someone is always watching. So what you want to do, you want to always conduct yourself like when you hear about how you reacted to any situation a month from now or 2 months from now, you will be proud of how you reacted to it. So make sure you set the example that would engender the kind of trust, and people will believe in you even when others are trying to tear you down.
Wow.
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 That's just good stuff
Wow.
right there.
That's character building stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Glover, once again, we have like really, really enjoyed this time together. And as Leo said, it kind of went fast. I mean, I was like, it's time already. We had so much more. We want to tell you thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service to the community. Thank you for your service to pave the way for others, for people that look like us. Thank you for making the way clear so that we know what we can do and what we should be doing. And I mean, you've faced a lot of adversity. You faced a lot of things that could have caused you to say, you know, I'm going to go the opposite direction. But because you made the right decisions, you gave us an opportunity to know exactly what we should do. And so for that, we again want to tell you thank you. We appreciate you. And Soul Talk, you have heard it yourself by a legend, a living legend. I mean, this is legacy on the screen right now. And we are so appreciative of the fact that we're able to actually be able to talk to him. Now, Dr. Glover, really quickly before you go, there are a few people that are here. We have some teachers, some educators that are really, really interested in finding out and getting your media contact so that they can get in contact with you. They'd love to be able to talk to you about speaking engagements at different educational and things. So can you give that information to us, or is that something that we can share?
Well, Dr. Norma, you do have my email address.
Yes, sir.
And if you, in your judgment, feel like that you want to give that out, I'll let you make that decision.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, Soul Talk community, thank you all for joining us this evening. Once again, Dr. Glover, thank you for being a pillar in our community. Thank you for representing a race of people with the highest standard of how you conduct yourself. Thank you for being a scholar and as well as a gentleman. We are so privileged that you would take time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us this evening. And we wish you the best. Soul Talk community, if you didn't learn anything else, learn that all things are possible if you don't give up. Keep pushing. Don't let the things that might knock you down cause you not to get back up. And also allow the things that have something that will motivate you to never quit. For Dr. Glover, it was saying that fear will never cause him to not be able to achieve things that he wanted to achieve. Don't let fear be the enemy that paralyzes you so that you don't live your dreams. Overcome it. Become the best you that you can be. And we love you here at Soul Talk, and we'll see you next week.
Good night.
Have an amazing evening.